Welcome to our class on Chassidus. We're going to be learning a beautiful Chassidic discourse of the Rebbe. The name of the Chassidic discourse is called Viטע Eshel. He planted an Eshel. The Rebbe said this Chassidic discourse on Shabbos, Parshas Winkler, which was the 15th day of the month of Cheshvan, in the year Tavshin Memches, 35 years ago. So again, the Chassidic discourse is based on the verse in this week's Torah portion where it says, Viטע Eshel bebאר שבע. Avram Avinu planted an Eshel, which we'll soon learn what an Eshel means, different opinions, in B'er Shava. Vayikra Sham b'shem Hashem, he called the name of Hashem, Yudkei Vavkei, El Olam, God, world. That's the verse. So the Rebbe brings from the previous Rebbe, on the Chassidic discourse with the same title, Viטע Eshel, on Shabbos Parshas Winkler, in the year of Tafresh Tzadik Ches, which was 50 years before the Rebbe said this Chassidic discourse, so now it would be 85 years ago. And the question he asked is, what is the connection between these two ideas? In other words, the fact that he planted an Eshel, which again we'll soon learn what it means, different opinions, with the idea that over there, in the planting of the Eshel, he called in the name of Hashem, God of the world. What's the connection between these two? Calling Hashem in the God of the world, that's one thing, and planting an Eshel, a separate thing. What's the connection? But obviously, if the Torah connects the two in the same verse, there must be some kind of connection. So the previous Rebbe brings what is brought down in the Talmud in Tractate Soita. So it says when the verse says Vayikra Sham b'shem Hashem Keilolam, that he called over there in the name of Hashem, God of the world. So the Talmud says don't say Vayikra, that he called, Avram called, but you should read Vayakri, which means he inspired other people to call out in Hashem. Every single person that passed by, every single person that came to Avram Avinu, he inspired them to call in the name of Hashem. So again, so to be clear, what the Talmud is saying is, when the verse says, literally, that he called in the name of Hashem, it doesn't mean only he called. Vayakri, he inspired others also to call in the name of Hashem. In other words, how did he do that? So the Talmud says, what happened? He gave them to eat, he gave them to drink, and after he fed them and he gave them to drink, they stood up and they praised him. Avram Avinu, thank you so much. So Avram Avinu said, 1 second, you ate my food? It's God's food. God created the food. I only served it. Go ahead and praise and thank Hashem, the one that created the world, the one that created everything that you're eating. So that's what the Talmud says. That's how he inspired others to call in the name of Hashem, by telling them, guess what? Everything you ate and drank in my hotel, yes, it's mine, but it really all comes from Hashem. So based on this, the previous Rebbe explains the connection between these two ideas. In other words, through the Eshel, what's an Eshel? An Eshel, there's different opinions. One opinion was literally like an inn. He had an inn that he had. And especially there's another opinion that says, what's an Eshel? An Eshel is made up of 3 letters. Aleph, Shin, Lamed, which stands for Achila. Aleph's for Achila, to eat, the place where he fed the people. The Shin stands for Shtia, he gave people what to drink. And the Lamed stands for Levia, a place to sleep, and a place to escort them out after they left. So in other words, this Eshel, which is an inn, which is a place for eating and drinking and sleeping, through that he was able to inspire everyone to call the name of Hashem. And that's why it says Viטע Eshel, which means he planted an Eshel, an inn, a place for eating and drinking and sleeping, and through that he was able to inspire other people to call what? In the name of Hashem. So that is basically an idea what the Rebbe brings down from the previous Rebbe in his Chassidic discourse on this verse. But now the Rebbe asks a question, and the Rebbe says the previous Rebbe asked the same question as well. How was Avram Avinu able to inspire other people to call in the name of Hashem? What did he tell them? The God of the world, that created the world, maintains the world, that God of the world, that's the one that fed you. In other words, the one that created the world, that one that said, the world should come into existence. So what are we referring to? We're referring to which God? The God that created the world. The only one that could create the world is God. So if that's the case, we all know who created the world. Hashem created the world. When it says in the beginning of the Torah, Hashem created, what does it say? It says, Bereshis bara Elokim. God has many names. The name that's used for creation is Elokim. But now, what does it say over here? Vayikra Sham b'shem Hashem. He had them call in the name of Yudkei Vavkei. But the fact is, when Hashem created the world, it says Bereshis bara Elokim. So if he's inspiring them to praise Hashem, the one that created the world, the one that gives it food and everything. So it should have said, he planted an Eshel in Beersheba, and he by Yakra he inspired people to call not in Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. It should have said he inspired them to call in the name of Elokim. So why does the verse say that he inspired them to call in the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei? To take it a step further, the Rebbe says, even in the beginning of the verse, what does it say? Vayita Eshel, he planted an Eshel. Where did he plant it? So the Torah tells us where he planted it. He planted it in Beersheba. Now, Beersheba is the name of a place, but why is it called Beersheba? Because over there, Avraham Avinu had the oath with Avimelech, but more importantly, Sheva comes from the word of seven. And we know that seven is represented by the seven emotions. And like it's brought down in many Chassidic discourses on the verse, right? There was the life of Sarah, 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years, etc. So we see clearly that seven over there is referring to the seven emotions. And what is the seven emotions connected to? The 7 days that Hashem used to create the world. And if that's the case, the seven emotions and the 7 days that Hashem used to create the world. So why does he say again Yud Kei Vav Kei? It should have said Shem Elokim. So again, the Rebbe is strengthening the question, and again the question is, in short, how come it says that he planted an Eshel in Beersheba, and that inspired other people, everyone to call the name of Hashem, which is amazing. But what part of Hashem? Not the infinite part of Hashem, Yud Kei Vav Kei. It's the part of Hashem that created the world. The part of Hashem that's connected to the 7 midos. And that's really the name of Elokim. So why does the verse say that he called in the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei? So Rebbe explains as following. He says like this. And based on what's explained in length in the Chassidic discourse of the previous Rebbe. When the verse says he planted a Eshel, and through that, he was able to inspire people to call on the name of Hashem. And we use the term Yud Kei Vav Kei. And the question is, how come it doesn't say Shem Elokim? So we know in the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei, there's different levels. In Hebrew, I'll say it in Hebrew, I'll translate it. There's Shem Havaya de Le'ela, there's the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, and there's the lower level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. In other words, the higher level of Yud Kei is referring to the infinite part of Hashem, and the lower level of Yud Kei Vav Kei is the part that Yud Kei Vav Kei connects with the Shem Elokim. So in other words, so if you're referring to the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, yeah, it's not appropriate. But if you're dealing with a lower level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is connected to Shem Elokim, so that's the level of Yud Kei Vav Kei that he inspired them to call, not the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, but the lower level of Yud Kei, which is connected to Shem Elokim. In other words, the novel idea of Avraham Avinu was that he called B'Shem Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei, and the verse says, El, God, Olam, world. So seemingly, what should have said? God, it should have said Kael, God, Ha'olam of the world. It's God of the world. But Avraham Avinu doesn't say that. He says Kael, God, world. Why is it God, world? Because if you say God of the world, it means it's the world. Obviously, it's all from Hashem, but the concealment of the world, so that has its own existence, the concealment of the world. And then you have the God of the concealment of the world. So it's two different things. Avraham Avinu doesn't say God of the world, he says God world. In other words, that world and God is not two separate things. World and God is the same thing. So Avraham Avinu was trying to accomplish, and he did accomplish, that there should be a union between Yud Kei Vav Kei, the lower level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the part that comes enclosed into the Shem Elokim, which is the concealment, together with the world. So the Rebbe explains beautifully. He says like this. What does the verse say? But he called people B'Shem Hashem Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is the lower level of Yud Kei Vav Kei, which connects to Hashem Elokim, and Keil Olam, he's expressing that Yud Kei Vav Kei and world is not two separate things. It's Keil Olam. God, world is the same thing. Not God of the world. If the world is separate and God is separate, and God is the God of the world. No, Keil Olam, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the lower part of Yud Kei Vav Kei, is the world. You're able to see in world Yud Kei Vav Kei. That was Avraham Avinu's whole goal. That when you look at the world, you shouldn't see world. You shouldn't see concealment. And there's a God that created the world. No, this world is God. Keil Olam, God and world is the same thing. Now, the Rebbe goes on to say a step further, and he says like this. We know the Talmud teaches us, I'll say it in Hebrew, I'll translate it, Maisei Avos Siman Labanim. Anything that happened to the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, etc., it's so the literal meaning is it's a sign for the children. In other words, anything that took place with the patriarchs, matriarchs, is a sign for the children. Now, what happens means, so when you say something's a sign, that means it's only a sign. What happened to the others? But what happens by the children? By them it becomes complete. It becomes a whole complete building. In other words, when something happens by the others, that's a sign. The children take it to the next level, and they make it real. They make it complete. They build it out. So the same thing also says as follows, over here. This that by Avram Avinu, that he called the name of Hashem, and God and the world was the same thing, was only in a way of a sign. It wasn't complete. In other words, why wasn't it complete? Because what was Avram Avinu able to accomplish? Keil Olam, as we learned, which part of God, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, but the lower part of Yud Kei Vav Kei. So Avram Avinu was able to accomplish that the lower part of Yud Kei Vav Kei, the one that's connected to Shem Elokim, should be connected. That should be revealed in the world. But through the work of the children, including obviously elsewhere Abraham's children, and like the author explains in Tanya, in chapter 37, Maseinu v'Avodaseinu, when we do our actions and our work, we accomplish more than Avram Avinu what he started. That when we accomplish is Vayikra Shem B'Shem Hashem Kei Loilam, that we accomplish what should be revealed in the world, the Yud Kei Vav Kei de La'ela, the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. In other words, by us doing our actions and our work, we actually usher in and bring in the ultimate redemption. Because what's going to happen when Mashiach comes? When Mashiach is going to come, godliness is going to be revealed in the world. The world is going to be, what's going to be revealed in the world is godliness itself. Yud Kei Vav Kei, not only the lower level, which Avram Avinu accomplished, the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei. And like it says clearly in the prophets, V'nigla Kvoid Hashem, the glory and the honor of Yud Kei Vav Kei is going to be revealed. V'ro kol basar, and every flesh is going to see together. What does that mean? So it's brought down in Chassidic and explains that the flesh itself, which is something which is materialistic and coarse, is going to see the honor of Yud Kei Vav Kei. But which part of Yud Kei Vav Kei? The higher level, the Shem Elvayin de La'ela. It means even the Yud Kei Vav Kei, the higher level, is going to be revealed in the world. Up to the point, what's going to be revealed in the world, to take a step deeper, the level of Ein Oid Milvadle. Besides Hashem, there's nothing else in the world. When you're going to see the world, you're going to see physicality, you're going to see Yud Kei Vav Kei, you're going to see only godliness. Or even deeper, not only Ein Oid Milvadle, there's nothing other than Hashem, there's something else, and you're saying there's nothing other than Hashem. Up to the level of Ein Oid, there's nothing else, like the two verses in Deuteronomy. And it's explained many places in Chassidic. Now, when this happens, it's going to happen not on a finite scale. It's going to happen at an infinite level. In other words, an infinite level, which is called in Hebrew, it's called the Mailam and Medida B'Akbala, without any limitations, without any limits, and which is called Harchava Amitis. That's the true abundance. The true abundance that everywhere is going to be revealed, the Yud Kei Vav Kei, which level? The Yud Kei Vav Kei de Leila. And like the prophet says, Praza is Teisha Yerushalayim. Jerusalem is going to sit without any borders. Hashem is going to expand the borders. An expansion which never really existed. So that's physically in the world, that Hashem is going to reveal in the world. But not only in the world, Rebbe says, but even in the Torah that we learn. That the Torah is going to be much greater. As the expression of the prophet is, Arucha Meretz Midah. So why don't we say the Torah is longer than the land, or a Chabad, it's wider than the sea. But we're saying, as Rebbe says, it's going to be even greater than, longer than the land, and wider than the sea. Why? Because when you say the Torah is longer than the land, wider than the sea, so there's a limit. It's limited to the land and limited to the sea. However, when Mashiach comes, the revelation is going to be in Torah much, much higher than that. Like, for example, the prophet says clearly, Ki kulam yedu oisi. Everyone's going to know me. Referring to Hashem himself. What is that? What is Hashem? Not levels. When we say oisi, we mean referring to, I'll say it in Hebrew, I'll translate, the essence of Hashem is going to be revealed. And where is that going to be revealed? It's going to be revealed through Torah. Like it says clearly, oisi, Me. Atam loichim. You take Hashem, when you learn Torah, you actually take Hashem himself. So notice what the Rebbe is saying here is such a powerful message. Avram Avinu was able to accomplish the first level. That Keil Oilam, that the world you see, Yud Kei Vav Kei, the lower level. We have the power to reveal the higher level of Yud Kei Vav Kei in the world, and ultimately we're going to prepare the world for Mashiach comes. That's when it's going to be totally revealed. That we're literally going to see in the flesh, in the physicality, we're going to see His godliness. What level? The infinite part of Hashem, the essence of Hashem, in the world, and also as well is in Torah. And the Rebbe finishes off and he says as follows: it should be the will of Hashem that by talking about this, of what? Of God being revealed, the revelation of Mashiach, where everyone's going to see God and godliness, it should happen in a real way, like it's brought down in the Talmud. It says, "Magid devarav liYaakov, chukav mishpat liYisrael." Hashem tells us His words to do, His statutes, His mitzvahs, etc., which means basically, which is explaining to this, whatever Hashem does, He tells us to do. Which means practically that literally very, very soon is going to be fulfilled the what it says in the prophets, that Hashem is going to expand the borders of Israel. We're going to have not only the 7 nations that we're able to conquer, we're also going to have the 10 nations, and it's going to and the expansion is going to happen for the Jewish people and Torah as well. We're going to have the complete level on all 3 levels. We're going to have the complete Torah without any borders. We're going to have the completion of the Jewish people without any borders, and we're going to have the land of Israel without any borders. And like the prophet says, "Be'atem tuluktu le'echad echad b'nei Yisrael." Hashem is going to gather each and every one of us. Also, all the Jewish people from all the generations. And like the prophet says clearly, "Hikitzu v'rannu shoichna yafar." Every one of our ancestors that have passed away, that have been buried, wherever they're buried all over the world, they're going to wake up when Mashiach comes. And literally every single Jew from all generations are going to be gathered together. And the Rebbe says the leader of our generation is going to be with them, with us, and in the head, leading all of us. And like the prophet says, we're going to have kaspa muzavam itam, the silver and the gold. Now, silver and gold, there's 2 levels to it. There's the physical level. We're going to leave Galus with all the tremendous wealth, but more importantly, we're going to leave this with the spiritual silver and gold. What is a spiritual silver and gold? So it's referring to the love for Hashem and the awe for Hashem. So we're going to all have this tremendous love for Hashem and awe for Hashem. And the most important, the Rebbe says, and that's the main point, it should happen in a tangible way. Lamata me'asar etzvachim, and most important, it should happen literally, very, very quickly, and like the Rebbe says, tekef umiyad mamash, right here, right now. We should all merit the ultimate revelation. So you see, you have a beautiful, beautiful Chassidic discourse in the Rebbe. It's a short Chassidic discourse, but the message is very, very powerful. The message is that we each have the power to reveal God and godliness, but not just the level like Avram Avinu, Yud Kei Vav Kei Lo Tata. We have the power to reveal the Yud Kei Vav Kei Leila in literally in this world, and that will be a precursor. What's going to happen when Mashiach comes? That literally the world will see, will scream out and identify that it's really all Hashem. So let's hope and pray that, as the Rebbe says, Mashiach will come, and next class will be in Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. Have a great and blessed week. Shavua Tov.